Perfect. All right, dear friends, show me your pencil and a highlighter. You ready to go? Good. Show me your math notebook. Fabuloso. And then your math book, you can just put on the floor for now. You won't need it right away. We'll need it in a little bit. Perfect. All right, dear friends, we are going to take notes. But notice, did I give you a notebook page today? No, so you're going to take notes to start getting ready for 5th grade. Because Miss Enting does a lot of notes like we did over distance learning. So I just want you to start getting more comfortable with that so you're ready for 5th grade. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right, so we talked about a little bit ago, talking about pairs of lines. And Monica helped us remember that lines go on forever. And was it Bennett? No. That's what. Monica said they have arrows on the end. Good. Okay. And they go on forever. What is a pear?
A fruit.
It is a fruit. Is that this kind of pear?
No.
No. What is P-A-I-R? What kind of pear what does that mean? Thomas? 2 of the same thing. Can you think of pairs of things you might have? What are pairs of things you might have? Lily? What? You might have pairs of socks. Perfect. What else? Nathan? You might have a pair of oculus controllers. You might have a pair of eyes. What else? Zach? You might. Micah? You might have a pair of shoes. I hope you do. I hope you're not like Antonio and Francesco and you have to share one shoe between you. And Claire. You might, if you are very lucky, have a pair of unicorns. Luckily, God gave you a pair of hands and a pair of eyes and a pair of ears. And we're going to use those 3 skills today, 4th grade friends, to help us take notes. After we take notes, we are going to do some practice problems in our book. And then I'll show you what our homework is after, okay? So go ahead and get your notebooks ready. A lot of you are already on a blank page. Fabuloso. And you can go ahead and write. Can you see that okay, my friends? What do you think? Do we want to write with the highlighter yet? No. I'm going to zoom in on my smartboard a little bit for you. Is that better? Okay. So we're going to be talking about pairs of lines. We want to make sure we get our title in the middle. So if we're looking through our notebook, we go, oh yeah, I'm talking about pairs of lines here. And why else do we want to put the date in our corner? What do you think, Bennett?
Let me know when you did it in case we need to watch the video again on Zoom.
You got it, to help you for that. And if I say, well, we did this on April 12th, you're looking through your notebook and being like, when was April 12th? Now you go, oh, yeah, I wrote 4/12/21 on the corner. I know. Perfect. It's the exact opposite of the perfect day, isn't it, Maddie?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, can you guess the perfect day? April 21st, best day ever. All right, dear friends, we are going to talk about pairs of lines. It's not as complicated as you might think. There are 3 kinds of lines we're going to talk about today. The first one is called parallel. Parallel. P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. Parallel lines. Have you heard of parallel lines?
Yes.
You probably have.
It's kind of like squares. On the one side is this and this are even, and the top are even too.
You are right. Parallel lines over here on the side. I want you to leave a little bit of space. I want you to draw one line like this and matching it as best as you can over next to it. Draw another line. These 2 lines are parallel. I could also say these 2 lines are parallel. And one more, I could say these two lines here. So I have three groups of lines, right? Group 1 is parallel, group 2 is, and group 3 is. What do you think, or what can you infer parallel might mean? These two lines are parallel, but these two are parallel to each other also, and these ones are parallel also. What do you think, Ryan? They're straight lines. You are right. That helps us a little bit more. What else do you notice about them? Monica?
They're the exact, though they're similar, like they're trying to be the exact same and they're like the same. They're pairs too.
They're comparative. All right, well, what if I say I have a fourth group? And I'm going to do this one like this. And then I have this one. Those are still parallel. What do you think? Those ones are still parallel too. What do you think, Bennett?
They're parallel for facing the same way.
You're close. You're close, Alicia.
They're parallel if they don't touch.
They don't touch. These lines are never, ever going to touch. So then we're going to, parallel lines never touch. And the math term for that is they never cross. Notice, do they touch at any point? Do they connect? Would they have a point in common at all? No, they wouldn't. I have a trick for you to remember parallel lines never touch. With your highlighter, take a look at that word parallel. What do you notice? The two L's are parallel. So I want you to highlight those L's in parallel. Nathan? Oh, it also has a pair that helps us know that we need at least two. Could you have 3 lines that are parallel? You could. Could you have 5 lines? But parallel means that they will never, ever what?
Touch.
They'll never touch. They're never gonna cross. Perfect. All right, so we have parallel lines. Our next type of line we're going to talk about are called perpendicular. It's a, one more time. Perpendicular. Perpendicular. It's a really long word. Perpendicular. I'm going to do the same thing where I show you some examples of perpendicular lines. So let's start with one like this. Now my next one is going to go right across on that blue line. It's going to cross on my blue notebook line. That's a perpendicular line. Those lines are perpendicular. They're not parallel. How do we know they're not parallel? They're touching. What do you notice about where they're touching? In the middle. Good. What else do you notice about it? Lily? That's okay. Bennett, what do you notice about the middle? They're crossing. Okay, we're going to get a little bit more specific, though. How are they crossing? Think through your math terms, friends. Take a look at it. What do you notice? What do you notice is kind of made when they cross? Holly? There's a 90-degree angle, isn't there? And there's a 90-degree over here. And there's one on the bottom. And there's one. Oh my goodness. So perpendicular lines have to do 2 things. What do perpendicular lines have to do? One is the opposite of parallel. What is it, Claire? Perpendicular lines will always touch or will cross to do what? They will cross to... Perpendicular lines have to do something. Bennett? To make 90-degree angles or right angles. Good. To make, and then I'm going to write so I remember in all capital letters. right angles. It has to make at least one. So that's why I'm just going to say right angles. Usually, if you're making one 90-degree angle, you're going to have another one, right? Because a straight line is how many angles? 180, right? So if we cut it in half, what's the other half got to be? 90. Yep. So they will always make right angles. Now I want to show you my trick for this one. You might have caught it when I was writing it. I know it's a little hard to see. Do you see? Look at my word perpendicular. Do you notice anything?
Oh.
What did I do with the P? No, I made it like a box. Why would I want to make it like a box? Monica?
Because a right angle would have a box on it.
It would have that box on it. So I did my P like this, and I made it like a box. If you want to highlight it, you can do that too. So you remember, it is perpendicular. It's going to cross and make a right angle. Got it? Yep.
Do they have to be facing the same way though?
They just can never cross.
So like you could do a line like this and this and
Can you show me with your hands, Bennett? With your arms?
like you could go like this and then you could go like this. And
Well, think through. These lines would go on forever. So Bennett's saying, if I draw one like this, and I draw one like this, right now, are they touching? No.
But they can because
But they could. This one could go on forever, right? So would they be parallel?
they'd be perpendicular.
They might not be perpendicular either. There's one more type of line. Remember I said we got 3? So we know parallel never touches. Show me with your arms what parallel lines would look like. Good. They're never touching. You could go this way or this way, either way. Good.
Equal sign.
Perpendicular lines. What do perpendicular lines look like? Good. A nice straight. What do they have to make? 90-degree angle. Our last type is called intersecting. Intersecting are interesting. They are very, very similar to one type of line. Think through. Where have you heard a word that's similar to intersecting? Interesting. All right, what else? Think about if you're driving. Intercepting. In football, you might intercept. What does that mean? You kind of interrupt. I'm thinking about if you're driving, you might go through an intersection. So which kind of lines do you think intersecting are more like? They're more like parallel or more like perpendicular?
Perpendicular.
They're more like perpendicular. Using our words on what we know about their meaning, intersecting, intersections, interception, all mean things are going to cross. So intersecting lines are lines that will cross, but do, and all caps and highlighted because it's that important, they do not they don't make right angles. Good. So with your arms, can you show me what you think an intersecting line would look like? It can't make a right angle. Think through, Micah. Would that make a right angle? Yeah. Almost. I see a lot of you doing the letter X. Huh? You could. But take a look. To be a right angle, it would have to be exactly. So I might want to do it a little bit off, right? Maybe a little bit off from a right angle. I might do one straight up and down. And instead of going along that blue line, I might have it come just a little bit down from it, and just a little bit up. I won't really ask you to draw too many intersecting lines, okay? The biggest thing to think through is, does it have a right angle? If it doesn't, it has to be intersecting. What if it does have a right angle? Perpendicular. What if they don't even touch?
Then it's parallel.
Then it's parallel. Good. Almost, Nathan, okay? All right. Now I want you to do, we're going to do which type. I want you to put, do you still have room on the bottom of your page?
Yeah.
You should.
Like a lot.
I'm going to draw, I have 3 shapes drawn. First, I want you to draw those shapes, friends. And then, see if you can decide the correct name for each one. So what I did was like this, and then I drew a little cloud underneath, so I knew where to put my answer. So draw the line that looks like this. Then these lines. And then this line. When you're ready then, see if you can name all 3 of those types of lines. If it's easier too, you could just write a number 1, a number 2, and a 3, and then use my pictures to name them if you want. I'm okay with that too. I think it'd be more helpful to have the example in your notebook, but I know sometimes it's hard to draw them. Jack?
Do you have any shortcuts that can we just do the first or last?
Unfortunately not, because 2 of our words start with very similar starts, right? Okay. For perpendicular, you could write P-E-R-P. I'd be okay with that. And so underneath here for shortcuts, parallel, I'm going to say no shortcut. Okay? Perpendicular, you could do like that. Perp, because you know the rest is endicular. And then intersecting, you could do inter. I'd be okay with that. Or it doesn't take you that much longer to write the whole word. Monica?
Is there any shortcuts to remember any intersection?
It's the only thing I can think of is I picture in my head an intersection and people crossing each other. Or an interception. But then you just got to remember that it cannot be a right angle. It cannot be 90 degrees. What do you think? Do you need 30 more seconds, friends? I'll give you 30 more seconds. I told you they're not as confusing. You just got to think through and take your time. Don't rush. All right. Let's take a look at number 1. What did you get? What type of line was this one? What'd you think? Aiden? How did you know this one was perpendicular and not intersecting? Good. It has right angles. It makes a nice 90 degrees. Perfect. All right. What about our middle one? Number 2. What'd you get? Amelia? How did you know they were parallel? They're going the same direction and they will never, ever, they'll never cross. No matter if they go on for 1 billion miles, they're not going to cross. Good. Then what is number 3? What's number 3, Ryan? Intersecting. How did you know it wasn't perpendicular? But looking at this, how can we know? It's kind of at an off angle, right? It's not going to make it won't make a 90 degree angle. Amelia? Ooh. So maybe if you want, you could do like int and then do like that. Intersecting. So you remember they're going to be tilted, not like a normal T. It does a little bit. Maddie? You stretching? All right, Thomas? For your perpendicular one? Are you saying for your answer? As long as you remember that it has to be 90 degrees. It has to make that right angle, okay? All right, friends. So we did our notes. I would keep my notebook handy on the side and get my math book open to page 823. I want you to do a few practice problems for me. Page 823. Can you believe how far we're getting in our book? Alright. When you are ready, you can work on starting at problem number 7 through 15. And then, if you finish those, I want you to go back a little bit and do problems 3 through 6. But I want you to start with 7 through 15. Does that make sense? And then go back to 3 through 6. Go quickly, please. Doing some practice work on there, okay? And I'm going to pause the video while you work on page 7 through 15 and 3 through 6. How do I?
Can we write down the name?
Yes. All right, fourth grade friends, let's take a look over our work. All right, so you had down here number 7, 8, and 9. Wanted you to be as specific as you could. Oh my goodness, why is it so blurry? All right, just listen to news. This one, oh, there we go. Parallel lines. You should have lines to be as specific as you can. Then perpendicular lines. This one they said just point. What would the most specific be? Point A. Good. Number 10 was a real world picture showing you perpendicular lines. Bennett? Yeah, that's okay. But are roads geometric? Are those geometry vocabulary words? Nah, so then just lines. But that's okay for this one. Amelia? Woo! That's okay. Almost. Okay? All right, very quickly, friends. Number 11 was showing parallel lines. And 12 was intersecting. I walked around and your perpendicular, intersecting, and parallel ones looked good, my friends who got there. If you got up top, 4 points were points W, X, Y, Z. Then you might have had, you should have named them line WX. You could have had line WY, line XZ, and line YZ. Remember, could you flip your letters at all? For lines, you can. 2 parallel lines would have been like YW and XZ, or WX and YZ, because they're never gonna touch. Good. And then perpendicular ones, you should have said like WY, and then what one would make it perpendicular, would make a 90-degree angle?
Y and X.
You could have
W and X.
W and X would make it perpendicular, or Y and Z. Good. All right. Then for your homework, friends, you're gonna have on the next page problem number 1 and 2. Tell me what kind of lines. 825 is your homework page. Yep. 1 and 2. And then 4 and 5. Using the picture, name 3 different lines. Name a parallel line. So you need how many line names to name a pair? You need 2 at least, okay? And then 6 Name lines that are perpendicular. So you need two names that name it perpendicular. And then two lines that are just intersecting in that big picture. And then on the back, number 15, which word describes that picture the best?
This is the day that Mr. Nation has the bio class right now.
Okay.
So we have to keep, this is your day with your kids, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So you might want to keep in the room.
Yes.
I'm going to have to forget it to my room.
That's okay. Perfect. All right. Any questions on our math homework, friends? All right. Then that's all I have for math.